Well, welcome everyone to Friendly Water for the World's chat about rocket stoves. Um, we have moved, as you all probably are aware, we've moved from doing this weekly to once a month. We're going to try and do it at the last Friday of the month. And so, of the final Friday, if you like. So thanks everyone for coming today who was able to make it. We really appreciate seeing you. We've been wanting to talk about rocket stoves for a while. They're really interesting technology with a lot of benefits to them. So I think this will be a really great presentation and hopefully very informative. So let's talk about some housekeeping. Just a request to mute your microphones, generally speaking, if whenever you want to speak, obviously, feel free to unmute. And you're welcome to enter questions. You feel free to interrupt with questions, or you can type them in the little chat box. This is being recorded, and our presentations are both linked to on our website, on our events page, and are put on our YouTube page. Our website is currently undergoing some redevelopment, so I always like to let people know that, and those are my contact details. And I forgot to delete this last bullet point right here, which is we have moved to a monthly chat. So here we are. Who is Friendly Water for the World? We are experts in village scale technologies. We build knowledge and resilience, which is really so important today, especially with COVID-19 and the ability for people to be as self-reliant as they can be. We activate community engagement, and we'll probably actually talk about that a little today in some of our project updates. We embrace, as always, the dignity, strengths, and rights of all living beings, and we stand with the most vulnerable. So our speakers today, myself, Wayne, will go over some rocket stove stuff and a couple other things. Kurt, our executive director, and Ergel Jody, who will update us on a couple of projects in Africa. And here are those topics that I just went over. So rocket stoves. Here's a picture of a rocket stove, and what is it? Well, it's a super efficient combustion stove. They tend to be pretty small. Hopefully we'll also get to see one or more in real life today, thanks to Wayne. Very easy to build and operate. And they do come in a variety of shapes and sizes based on their use and the cultures in which they're being used. And they come in different names. So this is a rocket stove. There are different varieties of rocket stoves, and there are different names for rocket stoves. Broadly, these are cooktop stoves, and this is a particular type, this rocket stove. It's actually based on an old lamp model that I'll kind of reference as we're looking at how it's put together. And that model is from, I think, the 1700s. So why use a rocket stove? Well, this is a great picture we have. And I've shared this picture before, and we originally shared it to talk about brick making. There are some folks who are making bricks with one of our brick making machines. What's interesting about this pic is how it really talks to the need for many of the technologies and the knowledge that we share. If you look in the background, you'll see the smoke plumes coming out of that building, undoubtedly out of an open fire stove or some version of that that's cooking in there. And there's probably someone in there, maybe more than one person, and that's what they're breathing in for much of the day, every day. So the situation is that 3 billion people depend on food cooked over open fires. I didn't even realize it was that many people. Due to the incomplete combustion, in other words, because all of the fuel isn't being consumed in the fire, it releases things like black carbon, which is soot, which is a terrible thing. It stays up in the air very briefly, and then when it drops down to ground through precipitation, it reflects all the sunlight back up into the sky to enhance global warming. They also produce, these fires also produce methane and carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. Half of all the wood that is harvested in the world is used for fuel, but it only provides 9% of global primary energy. So it's not a particularly efficient use of wood or as fuel. And 275 million people, many of them in East Africa, are in wood fuel depletion zones. The Saharan Desert is moving south, I believe, at, if I remember the number right, at 25 kilometers a year. And trees are dying in its wake and in other places around East Africa. And there are significant health consequences for these open fires. 4 million people die every year from illnesses related to them. You can have severe eye issues, including blinding. Burns are frequent, especially, unfortunately, for young children who are running around and who literally just fall into the fires. And then all of the side effects of having to walk to collect wood. So what are the components to a rocket stove? Well, here's a kind of a small diagram of the stove, and the entire stove is insulated. You saw that in the first picture, and I'm sure Wayne will speak more to that. It's very simple. There's just a fuel shelf right there where the fuel in form of a very small diameter twigs and branches, and you can, if you had access to them, you could put things like pine cones or dung or anything like that in there. Is pushed in onto that fuel shelf. There's a magazine that the fuel shelf sits in. There's the airflow that goes underneath the shelf. And then it forms essentially an elbow where the fuel burns at the tip and then is combusted, and that the heat rises straight up that elbow, right up that chimney, into and heats the pot or whatever you might have on top of it. So those are the components of a rocket stove. And this is, Wayne's going to talk a little more about this, but this is how it works, as I kind of just covered a little bit. The key here is it's very efficient. So because of the small opening of the stove, when you add fuel to the stove, there isn't a lot of room for air to both go in or especially escape. And the air that goes into the stove burns at the tip of the stove, because the air wants to go in and follow all the way up. So the air comes in and burns the fuel just at the tip of the stove. So the more fuel you push in, the hotter that tip gets, and it creates a consistent current of air that comes underneath to burn and almost completely combust the fuel that's there. And here's there we go. So how do you build it? So hopefully we'll be able to transition over to Wayne, who I believe has, I'm going to stop my screen sharing so we can see Wayne. And he has been working on his own models.
Can you see me here?
We can see you.
You can?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Yes, I've been experimenting with different models over the past 6 weeks. I started with this bucket as a form. I had a piece of pipe that fits inside like this. I block it with the end with a piece of a brick or a rock, a relatively flat rock. And then this I have cut to put a saddle that fits right over the top of the existing pipe. So I've selected this type of stove because it's a mix of adobe, which I'm shooting for 75 to 85% sand and a 15 to 25% clay mix. And the reason I've selected these is because it's nearly cost-free. Clay and sand can be found in many, many places, on a riverbank, in a mud bog. So here I've got sand, and in this other trash can, I have a slurry of clay. Can you show that? And that's about the consistency I'm mixing with this. So I'm taking 2 liters of clay slurry and about 8 to 10 liters of sand. And I just mix that together, roll it back and forth. I use my hands. I can stomp your feet in it. But just mix that all up. Then in the mold, I start with just a couple inches, 5 centimeters of sand roughly. And then I insert the horizontal burn tube, put a rock over the end, set this over it, and continue packing this until it's full. There's no need to put vegetable oil on it. The original ones I did, I oiled this pipe and I oiled the inside of my bucket so it would release easily. I found that I don't need that. And as we found out in Zambia, the ants like to come from everywhere to feast on the oil that we've put on there to grease the pipe. So once this is full, I've created little ribs on top here to set a pan on so that the heat can come out from around the pan. Then once this is all made, if it's not made with too much water, you can almost pull out these forms immediately and pull the bucket off, and you have a ready-made rocket stove. This was my first model. I used a little, just the sand and clay on this one. My second one, I mixed in a fair amount of straw and needles from an evergreen tree. This one, I believe, was made last January before the ladies went to Gandhigram. And then this one and the one underneath this barrel, I mixed a little bit of sand, cement in just to see the durability. And as you can see, some of these don't always make it. I used 3-inch pipe on these 5 rocket stoves. I used a 4-inch pipe, 10 centimeters instead of 6 or 7 centimeters. And I found that I could load this up more with pushing that in, created a little bit of smoke. But as you can see, this one is really hot. I've got it going to, if you keep this whole area full of wood, it tends to draw combustion air underneath. The right angle turn creates air turbulence, and that is what creates the efficiency of the burn. That turbulence swirls around there and you get a complete burn with very little or no smoke. And you can see this is, yeah, I couldn't hold my hand there very long. And this one, I cut open a barrel so a person could make flatbreads, tortillas, naan bread, I don't know, you could maybe even cook ugali on it. But this was an experiment you would want to polish a good barrel that's not rusty and keep it oiled so it would not rust if you were going to cook directly on it. An alternative to that is cutting a hole here and setting a pan, fitting a pan tightly around the hole that you have. Then also with this type, you can vent directly out through a wall, put another elbow on, and you would have almost no smoke at all in here. This one, I just stacked these bricks moments ago. I put a brick base down. Before I would use this, I would cover this with a clay slurry, like is in the trash can over there, and seal up all the cracks. And as long as the horizontal burn tube and the vertical burn tubes are similar in diameter, similar in space, it doesn't have to be round, it can be a square space. It will create that turbulence and get that good clean burn. The other rule of thumb to keep in mind is the horizontal burn chamber should be half the length of the height of the riser tube. So if it's 20 centimeters this way, then it should be 40 centimeters tall. In my experiments, it took me 50 minutes to boil 1 pint of water. That's roughly half a liter. The second time in this one, it only took 20 minutes. And by the time I got to this version, I boiled that same half liter of water in a saucepan in only 6 minutes. So these are my experiments, and it's been a lot of fun. I've got plans to make a patsuri stove next. It's a little bit more involved. It has a place to make tortillas on it. There's also a possibility of creating 2 more burners before the chimney exits the back of the stove. If you come in close with the camera, please, you can see the flame swirling around there possibly. So that's going to be a good clean burn. Anyway, the patsuri stove will be an experiment to be able to also make flatbreads with something a little more sophisticated than my barrel model. So I'm welcome to answer any questions, or we can move on with the presentation. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Wayne. Obviously, we're all barbecuing at Wayne's this summer, so everyone's free to come over. Thank you, Claire, for being an excellent videographer.
You're welcome.
And actually, I'm going to, so Wayne was talking about that very, let's see here. Let's bring this back up. So that patsuri stove, and here's a visual of that stove that he was talking about. And it speaks to the kind of the needs that different cultures have based on their diets or based on when or how they cook food. The need for kind of different designs using hopefully some of the same core materials. And also just the, just some of the habits. I was reading a couple of interesting stories about some people who were, especially some older people who were hesitant to give up the particular stove they were using because even though it was inefficient, it kept them warm in the mornings and they would cuddle up next to it. And it's all of those small elements of behavior and habit and practice that you really have to keep in mind when you're going into people's homes, and that's where these stoves are going to be. They're in people's homes, and And you know, we have to make sure that we treat that environment with the dignity and respect it deserves. So thanks, Wayne. And I'm just going to kind of finish with some of the benefits, and these probably pretty obvious by kind of how we've talked about them. It reduces a lot of things. Poverty, because women have more time for other activities, both cooking time and reducing the amount of time that they have to spend looking for wood. It reduces burn rates, fire risk, obviously reduces pollutants as we've described, and it reduces the impact on the environment. And then the other benefits, it's flexible in its design. The nature of it, it can be modified and crafted to fit the various needs of the cultures that we're working with. So that's Rocket Stove. And as you can tell, that Wayne is hard at work on creating some models for us to learn more about and how to best implement them. I'm going to open the floor momentarily, at least to any questions. Folks have any questions about the stoves to Wayne or I or anybody here? Okay. Well, feel free if something comes to mind during the rest of the chat. You're welcome to share.
So, Will, I just put a saucepan on top that fire, and I'm going to see how long it takes to boil that pot of water.
Awesome. That's exciting. Put some eggs in there when it gets boiling. All right. So next thing we're going to talk about, hopefully Eric, if he's able to, was going to share an update for us on Monze, the great work that's happening there, and also a project that we have in planning stage right now in Raranya. So Eric, are you able to share that?
Sure. Thank you, Will. Thank you, all the people attending this particular chat. My name is Eric Lungauli Jodi, the Programs Manager of Friendly Water for the World. I'll give a very brief overview of two projects specifically in Africa, what we're doing in Monze, Zambia, and then I'll end up by giving at least a brief report on our intent of doing a project in Raranya, that is in Tanzania. For those who may be joining us for the first time in this particular chat, we've been talking about Monze for a while, and this is just to let you know that we had our first training in Monze during the month of February this year. We specifically completed the training for the 4 groups in Monze on the 26th of February this year. And the trainings that we carried out in Monze were specifically in the 3 technologies. We had the rainwater catchment training, we had the biosand water filters training, and we did also training on the interlocking soil stabilized bricks, ISSPB. Since the time we did the training, we have had some work going on in Monze. The team we trained has so far done construction of 2 rainwater catchments on their own, which is a great accomplishment from our side, because when we do a training, we only actually train the team in making the first 2 rainwater catchments. The first one is specifically for the training. The participants are actually taught using the first rainwater catchment. Then the second water catchment that is constructed is done by those who have attended a training. So after the training, we've been able to accomplish and constructed 2 more rainwater catchments in Zambia. Apart from the achievement of constructing 2 rainwater catchments, the team has gone ahead and is really doing well when it comes to the interlocking blocks. The Zambia Women at Carls Foundation, in collaboration with the Friends of Monze, with the Ministry of Education in Zambia, they went ahead and they collaborated. They're going on with the construction of a school in Monze, as 3 classrooms school using the interlocking bricks. The building is at an advanced level. As we are speaking, they are now approaching that stage of doing the roof of the building. So this is a great achievement from us as a family of Friendly Water, because for the first time we are seeing actually the interlocking bricks that we are making being fully utilized in Zambia. And the variety of benefits that are coming up with these particular bricks. The last time we were talking with our friends in Monze, they clearly indicated that they have actually met some saving that is usually spent in terms of cement when they're doing the other normal constructions. And we believe that they have also made some saving on the time, because the other normal construction that is always usually done, it takes a bit of time before a building is completed. So there is saving on time used in actually putting up this particular structure. The biggest saving we have so far received that is very important for us is on the environment, because the teams have been actually using the burned bricks, and the burned bricks actually, they use a lot of wood fuel. And our idea is we are getting away from the use of the wood fuel so that we can save on the nature, we can save on the environment, we can save on the trees. So another bigger benefit that comes with the uses of these particular blocks is that we are saving trees, which is a very big achievement for us. We have a plan for our work in Monze, and we sat down as the leadership of Friendly Water, and we decided to come up with a quarterly plan for our work that is in Monze. And this quarterly plan we developed is actually running from the month we are just about to end, that is the 1st of July, and it will come to an end. The quarterly plan I'm talking about will end on the 30th of September. Within the plan, we have actually highlighted the key areas that we trained the 4 teams in Monze, because we felt that if we have to move forward as a team, we need to be guided by the quarterly plan that we have raised. And this quarterly plan, we did it in consultation with our key partners in Monze. That is the Zambia Women at Carls Foundation, the Friends of Monze in it. So we did it in agreement so that we can be very specific about the work we are doing in Monze. So within the quarterly plan is very clear. We said that during the first months of this particular quarter, we'll be making a very clear monitoring and follow-up of the interlocking brick making and the construction of the school that is going on. This is something we've been working on for the months of July, and reports we are receiving from there, as I said earlier, the school is actually, the construction is going on very well, and they'll be roofing that particular structure maybe beginning this month of August. We have a plan also for the months to come, because as you are aware, we actually majored in 3 technologies in Monze, and one of the technologies we are emphasizing, because that is a core technology for us as an organization. It is the issue of the biosand water filters. We felt that it's important to include this in the quarterly plan that will come up for Monze. So we're expecting that within this month that is coming, that is in August, we'll be having the teams actually constructing some biosand water filters in Monze. The construction will be done by the respective groups, and the first beneficiaries that we intend to be utilizing the filters that will come from the work they'll be doing are actually those people, the trainees who attended the training that we did at a place known as Malimba. So during this month of August, we shall be having that process being undertaken by all the 26 trainees that attended our training in Malimba. We intend also to carry out a fresh epidemiological survey for the people that will be using these particular filters, and in this case are those who attended the training. The team will also be submitting to us the epi surveys so that we get to know the status of health of the people over there before they start actually using the biosand water filters. So we'll have these teams actually making the biosand water filters. They'll have to do the installation, and they get us the pre-epi surveys. After which, within the same quarter, we are talking about continuation of making of the interlocking blocks, because Friends of Monze are actually working with several schools within Monze, and our partner there, the Zambia Women and Girls Foundation, have needed to make sure that this brick making technology is actually taken in all the 4 areas that we had trainers coming from. So we'll have a continuation of the brick making within Monze, within the specific quarter that I've just talked about. Something that we are looking at within the quarter also, we are looking at the possibility of having construction of more rainwater catchments. This is something we are in discussion with both the Zambia Women and Girls Foundation and the Friends of Monze. We expect that they'll be able to get some funding specifically to do this particular work, because we included it in our action plan for this quarter, because we wanted all the 3 technologies that we are introducing in Monze to run concurrently. We trust that they'll be able to get funding from some other source to make sure that within this particular quarter, they'll be able to do construction of more rainwater catchments. We are really pressing on with this team so that they gain experience, because this is the first team. It was our point of entry into Zambia. And for us to expand our work in Zambia, we need to have a local team that fully understands the technology, that fully gets the concept of the work we are doing, so that if we have to move our work to any other location within Zambia, we don't have to outsource the trainers like the way we did the first training. Our intent is to use the locally available human resource when advancing our technologies in any particular country. And for Zambia, we are really looking forward to work fully with the teams that we trained in Monze, so that they gain this very necessary experience. So that is on Zambia. We are expecting that by the end of the quarter, we'll be able to report back and share with you the achievement we'll have realized from the specifics that we have highlighted in this particular quarter. Moving quickly on Raranya. Raranya is in Tanzania, and just before I mention about Raranya, as an organization, we are looking for a way whereby we can be having hubs in specific locations in Africa. And in Zambia, we are looking at Monze being a hub for us. And we intend to have a hub in Tanzania. And that's why we actually engaged in coming up with a project in Raranya. This project in Raranya is being coordinated by our partner whom we've been working with for quite a number of years. And this is Hope Revival Children's Organization. Hope Revival Children's Organization is specifically found in Musoma area. And apart from them working with us, they have various activities they're doing also. Currently, they're actively involved in education about the culture, specifically the use of the reusable sanitary towels. So he's a very committed partner whom we are looking at when we are preparing this roadmap of doing a project in Raranya, Tanzania. Hope Revival Children's Organization is not just actually working on its own. Hope Revival is in partnership with the University of Buffalo, and University of Buffalo has actually come in handy when we are preparing for this project that we want to do in Raranya, because our intent is that once we get in any particular location and we want to implement a project, we want to look at a better way of making sure that once we get to the ground, the project gets to be more effective. So the University of Buffalo has proved to be very important for us to enhance the smooth implementation of the project in the Raranya area. For us to be able to move forward, as you are aware, as an organization, we are really emphasizing on community engagement. So for us to get in Raranya, our first approach has been, and is still that we want to identify the teams that will be working with in Raranya in the form of the community, and also getting the stakeholders that are within the Raranya community that will actually work with us to enable us actually achieve our purpose in Raranya. For the time being, we've been given a name of 2 CPOs, that is Raranya CCM group and the Furaha Women group. Specifically, these are the groups that the names have been floated to us by Hope Revival Children's Organization that we'll be working with to make sure that we implement the project in Raranya. To make sure that we are moving smoothly, we know there's COVID-19, and COVID-19 has actually slowed the speed we've been doing on most of our projects, because our speed is being guided by the trend that COVID-19 is leading us. Tanzania specifically is a challenge for us for implementing this particular project, because as you are aware, or if you are not aware, Tanzania as a country is living in denial. The president said that there is no COVID-19, so there are no measures that have been put in place in Tanzania to control COVID-19. And you know, once a country has got no statistics, has got no logistics, has got no control over a pandemic like COVID-19, then it becomes very difficult to get a very clear picture of what is happening in Tanzania. But for us, an organization, we understand that there's COVID-19. And that's why we are moving meticulously when it comes to the issue of trying to implement the project we want to do in Raranya. Currently, our contact person, that is Stephen Marwa of Hope Revival Children's Organization, he has been visiting Raranya, and even today, recently informed to us that he'll be visiting Raranya And one of the assignments that we've given him is to make sure that once he gets to Raranya, we would like to see the setup of Raranya as a community. And we can only see this setup if he's going to send us photos in the form of the community markets within Raranya, the health facilities within Raranya, the schools that are in Raranya, the wells, boreholes, and any other water sources that are within Raranya. And because we are dealing with sanitation and hygiene, we have also assigned him to get us pictures of the situation of the latrines in Raranya, so that we get to have just a clear picture of how Raranya is. To end my submission on Raranya, I just want to get back to the University of Buffalo. As I said, this university is very, very important for the work that we want to do in Raranya, because they have been assisting us with the geomapping of Raranya area, and they are continuing actually to give us guidance when it comes to mapping of the work that we intend to do in Raranya. Lastly, to confirm that our projects in Raranya are on course. We have a budget that we've discussed as an organization, and the budget actually covers all the 7 projects or so that we intend to do in Raranya. So we actually on course with implementing the project that we want to do in Raranya. But as we are on course, we are looking also at the trend that the COVID-19 will lead us. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. That was extremely informative. It's great to get back up to speed with what's happening in those 2 really important projects of ours. Wayne, there is a question that popped up for you regarding your rocket stoves and the different 3-inch models that you had. I think you indicated that they boiled water at different times. And so Keith wanted to know, how did you account for that?
There could have been several variables. The rate in which sticks were fed in, the amount of cure time that the stoves had before the fire was put in them. If there was a lot of moisture in them, a lot of the heat is going into the surrounding clay. And my very first one had no insulation at all. At least the subsequent others, I mixed either perlite, which is looks like small beads of styrofoam, which obviously are not available readily in a developing country, but other models I chopped up dried grass clippings, and I mixed that in there as insulation, and eventually those elements of carbon will get burned out there, causing dead air spaces to further insulate. So I expect that in subsequent burns, each one of these will perform a little bit better.
Okay, interesting. Can you give us a quick update on Tijuana?
Yeah, right now there's a Rotary Club in San Diego that has applied for a global grant, which will eventually, assuming it's approved, we will create a biosand filter training down there with some of the volunteers, individuals that have been to our anacortes training. I think there are 5, including one native of El Forte, Sinaloa, Mexico. who's now been through our training 2 times, plus his extensive work over the past 3 to 5 years with other types of biosand filters. So we're real confident in his teaching abilities and the abilities of all the others that have been working with biosand filters in El Forte and who have been to our Anacortes training. So I think we've got 5 people lined up to do some work there. I think initially we're going to build, I think it's 25 filters, and there could be subsequent building trainings or workshops beyond that to spread biosand filters throughout the community of Tijuana.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. I'm going to pivot over to Kurt for a second, but I just wanted to, while I had Wayne on the screen, just to see if anybody else had any other rocket stove questions to field to him. Going once, going twice. All right, so Kurt, would you mind giving us an update on the Nalanda Academy potential program in Wardha, India?
There was a question that has been sent on the chat before. Kurt can come in.
From the heating,
Keith.
from Keith?
Yeah, that says how long?
Yes, that was what I just asked Wayne.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I may not fully have understood that. I've put a burn inside a rocket stove within an hour or 2 of making it. Obviously, it's got a lot of drying and curing to do. And in subsequent stoves, I've added that little bit of cement, and I'm sure they would require more cure time.
Thanks.
Otherwise, there'll be cracking.
I just saw that question come in, so thanks, Eric and Wayne. Kurt, you just have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think the stove we built in Zambia, Eric, Wayne, and I, we fired that up pretty much while it was still wet, and that probably helped it crack a little bit. So I think probably a smaller fire longer would have probably been better. But yeah, real quick on India. It's interesting. We've been invited to the middle of India, a town called Wardha, which has a school called the Nalanda Academy, which focuses exclusively on folks who are called Dalits, which is the lowest caste. It also includes other backward castes, scheduled tribes, and scheduled castes. And what's interesting about this is that if you look at the populations of Uganda, Congo, Tanzania, Kenya, and Zambia, altogether, there are about 250 million people, only a small amount of which actually require the work that Friendly Water provides. In India, there's at least 350 million people who are Dalits or other backwards castes. And these are people who are highly marginalized, if not completely excluded from interactions with the rest of society. Because of the scale of this, rather than going in and just starting a project, we have decided to go in and start a program. The program we're tentatively looking at speaks to exactly what I'm saying, and we're calling it Beyond Caste, Water, Hope, and Resilience at the Nalanda Academy. This is a huge opportunity for us, and I think a great opportunity for the folks in India, because it's a partnership between 2 knowledge-sharing organizations. The Nalanda Academy, which has been in existence for a while and focuses on training people who are marginalized lower caste members so that they can succeed themselves in Indian society, by giving them some of the skills that they can take back to the villages with them. We believe we can raise all members of these scheduled castes and the Dalit community. it's really focused on what Will was talking about earlier, which is this common belief in basic human dignity and the strengths of the rights of all people. Our 6 or 7 technologies are well suited to work with such a population because they are not only socially marginalized, but they're geographically marginalized as well. So a lot of the things that we would take for granted, like being able to put in a bore well or other kinds of water catchment or other water gathering, are non-existent unless we were to bring them in ourselves. The beauty of working in Wardha is it is specifically in the exact middle of India, which if we're going to start off, as we were talking about with hubs, this would really allow us to start from a very central location. All roads in India lead to Wardha, and all roads out of Wardha lead to the rest of India. So we're really excited about it. We have found a great partner with our friends, Anup and Rahul at the Nalanda Academy. We are looking for support from the Indian community here in the United States as well to help us make this real. But it's going to be a long project, probably 7 to 10 years at a minimum. And we're very, very excited about it. And I hope I will have more time in the future to talk about it at greater length. Thanks, Will.
Thank you. That was that was expertly done. Thanks, Kurt, for getting through that so quickly. And if anyone has any questions on any of these projects or programs, because as Kurt mentioned, Wardha, we're really designing and devising it to be a program because it's not something that's temporary. It's something that we hope to essentially create a hub in Wardha and then expand these solutions out into the surrounding communities. And that is an approach that we're looking to take wherever we are going to be doing our work, whether it's Raranya or Monze or anywhere else, to have longer relationships with our community partners. And we really look forward to that. And all of that work, and I know all of you on this call have probably heard me say this before, all of that work is really dependent on our ability right now to plan for it. Obviously, unless you're in Tanzania, where COVID doesn't exist, COVID's really restricted transportation and getting around. And although the work has proceeded in Monze very carefully, it definitely has impacted probably India more than anywhere else that we do work. So our ability to plan for these projects is really critical right now. We can only do that with the support of our members, I should say the support of our supporters. And yeah, as a couple of folks on this call now know, this week I've been making calls to our sustaining members. And those are folks who give to us on a consistent basis, usually monthly. They are, have and continue to be kind of the backbone of the organization. They give us an ability to operationally plan for all of these projects that we're doing, and we rely on them greatly, and we really appreciate their support. If you're able to, please consider becoming a sustaining donor. We have folks who give as little as, it's not little to us, but give as little as $5 a month up to over $100 a month. And every dollar of that sustaining gift is incredibly important. So thank you very much. We will have another chat next month on the final Friday. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, will@friendlywater.org. And I will disseminate your questions out to anybody else at Friendly Water who may need to be aware of them. And if there are no other questions, I hope everybody has a fantastic day. All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Will.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Teresa. Bye-bye.